Hello and welcome to another video with Gamers Class. This is Shizzy here, guys. This video is going to be about the mid lane climbing guide. It is for Ancient to Divine. Now, before I actually made this video, I've watched a few replays in the Ancient bracket. I've been trying to study the mistakes that are being made in this certain bracket, and I've actually made pointers out um, of the main mistakes that I could see that are happening on repeat. And if you work on these, you can actually get to a higher MMR, a higher rank, which is gonna be divine. You could actually go even higher, you never know. Regardless, it's something that I saw from my own perspective as an immortal player. Some things might be good, they might be better, they might be great. Some things will be that you already know, or some mistakes that you might actually not be making, because every player has a different play style, right? So with that said, let's get right into the game. So the first thing that I noticed as I watched this game from the picking phase is uh, most players here, they don't have a clear idea of what they're about to pick. And that's what I want to talk about. Having a clear idea of what you're about to pick and what counters you. Alright, and this is something that just comes with time, obviously. The more you play Dota, the more you understand your hero, the more you understand your counters, this gets better. But you do want to think as you're picking heroes. Obviously, you can't just pick a hero like, oh, today I want to play TA. I'm gonna pick TA. Oh, today I want to play Batrider. It's a fun hero. I want to play it. No. This is the kind of mindset you want to have in an all pick or turbo or a game that doesn't matter. But when you're playing ranked, you have to be at your 100%. You have to think about your counters. Again, like I said, it doesn't just happen overnight. You'll have to understand heroes. You'll have to play them more. You'll have to play different roles. And then you will actually get a better understanding of your own hero, other heroes, and the game. But it is very necessary to work on it. If you don't, then you're gonna have a very hard time picking heroes and understanding counters of uh, certain heroes. So obviously the first thing is having a clear idea of what you're about to pick and what counters you. Now, how do you actually work on this? When you get into a game and you're picking heroes, you want to look at the enemy and you want to see what they want to do, right? Let's say they have a Pudge. Let's say they have an Earth Spirit. What do they want to do? They want to rotate a lot. If they have a Mirana, the Mirana is going to throw a lot of arrows at mid. So what kind of hero do you want to pick? A hero that can sustain ganks, or blink out, or something like that. Again, I can't ever go through every single situation in the game, but this is just a good example of how you want to see things before you get into a game. Now, the second thing is stacking for yourself or asking for stacks. Now, the game on the mid lane mostly turns into a situation where you're farming and your enemy is also farming at the mid lane. I mean, the enemy mid laner, he's also farming, and you're farming. So, what happens is, what basically happens is what's happening right now here in the game, if you notice. The Shadow Fiend is pushing the wave, alright, going to jungle, DP is doing the same, and both are just counter mirroring the moves, alright? So, how do you want to get a better situation out of this? By stacks. You can stack yourself, you can ask your team to stack for you, but regardless, stacking is super important. Now, there's a lot of ways you can stack as well. Efficient stacking, I would say. Now, you can obviously stack once. Every stack has its own timing. This one has a 55. You hit this on 55. You pull them here or here. They will get stacked. These also 55. These 55. These 55 or 53 as well. Ancients are 55. You hit them here and you pull them right to here. They get stacked. This one is 53 or 55. You can pull them anywhere and they will get stacked. But the most efficient stacking are on the dire side. So you can hit this camp at 53, this camp at 55, right? Like hit at 53 here, go here, hit this one, and go here. You get a double stack, and then you can farm double stacks efficiently. You can also do it on the ancients. You can hit this one at 53, hit this one at 55, and then later on stack both of these camps together. It's really, really good. So, the main thing I want to talk about is when the game gets to a situation where both of the mid laners are just farming, they're not rotating or anything, you want to stack. You want to stack as much as possible so you have a better situation. You're AFK farming jungle, enemies AFK farming jungle, but guess what? You will have a better farm. You will have more items and you will have a better timing compared to the enemy. Why? Because you're stacking. As simple as that. If you have good support, you can obviously ask them as well and be in a better situation.
Killing spree. Double
Now,
kill.
the third thing I want to talk about, and I've seen it in these
Killing
games
spree.
a lot,
Double
even below
kill.
Ancient actually. I've seen it a lot, and that is most players are not playing on their timings. They're just mostly playing reactionary. And what do I mean by this, and how can you improve on this? So, what I mean by playing, like not playing on your own timings, is when you have a brown boot, okay, and you're close to your Yules. Let's say you're playing Shadow Fiend, you're close to your Yules, and you see like, oh, I see this hero, let's go kill him. Right? This is not playing on timings. All right, this is a very random and I would say non-disciplinary move, where you just do things randomly. You're just playing uh, without a brain, I would actually say. Um, so, say you're playing Shadow Fiend. What's your timings? You want to get the Yules, and then you want to go for kills, right? But if you start going for kills before the Yules and you die, you're that much behind on your timings, if that makes sense. So, most players are making this mistake, and the way you overcome this is constantly think about timings. And again, this won't happen overnight, guys. You have to play a hero a lot to understand its perfect timings and know where you shine. Every hero has its own. Shadow Fiend is Yule's, Storm is Orchid, Cop is Orchid, you know, and there's situations where you buy different items in different games, obviously. But the idea here is to play on your timing. Okay, I want to emphasize this as much as I can. Do not make moves just because the enemy is trying to make a move on you. Make a move because you want to or because you're strong. That's when you will actually start to shine as a mid laner. Dota is a psychological game, guys. If you if you make a move and you already know what you want to do in this move and what you're going to get out of it, you have a higher success rate from that move. But if you're reacting to an enemy move, all right, you have a way lower success rate in that. Why? Because he's the one making it first. He already knows what he wants to do, what kind of spells he has, if he's obviously thinking it through. Um, and it just puts you in a bad spot. I'm not saying that sometimes reactionary moves work out as well, but more or less you want to play on your own timing.
Dominating. Double kill.
The fourth thing I want to talk about, and I have a great example of it as well from this game, is having a clear understanding of your job in the game and not doing things on autopilot. Now, what do I mean by this? What do I mean by this is basically you're playing mid, okay? You understand your role. Your role is to get the runes. Your role is to win the mid lane. Your role is to push waves. Your role is to have a high impact. That's very basic. Most people understand this in Dota, but it gets advanced, right? As the rank goes higher, as the MMR goes higher, it gets advanced, and you have different jobs and different roles in different games, regardless of the lane, the mid lane. But every hero has its own job and his role. So let's say you have a greedy hero on the safe lane. Do you want to pick a greedy mid laner? If you do, you're gonna have a hard time. So obviously you don't want to pick a greedy mid laner. That's you understanding your job in the game. Yes, you can pick a greedy mid laner and say, oh, I just wanted to play this hero and I'm gonna pick it. You might win, but your chances of winning are gonna be way lower for sure. And you can't really win games with this attitude. So you have to understand what your team needs, what it requires, and then pick a hero around it, and understand your job in that game.
Dire's
Now, the
top tower
example
is under attack.
I wanted to talk about just playing on autopilot is
Dire's
this one.
structures are fortified.
Now, as a mid laner, guys, it is not your job to pick up bounties. Your job is to push waves, get kills, give impact in team fights, push towers, and play like uh, a secondary carry, if you may. Now, look at what the Shadow Fiend does here. He uses a smoke just
Dire's
to get
bottom tower is
bounties
under
here.
attack.
He probably wanted to get a solo kill, which is nice, but again, he's making moves that he really doesn't have to. It's not his job to secure bounties, it's the support's job. He can also just get the bounties and get out of here, but then he goes on to autopilot. He makes a move, alright, and then he goes on autopilot. He's like, okay, I got the bounty, nice, game's going good, let's try to go for a kill. You never want to go like this. Look at the enemy. You can clearly see that there's 3 heroes mid, and you can see in the vision they're rotating bottom. You see the Slardar, he's going bottom, right? So he's standing right here, and basically he just ruins his own game for getting a bounty and then getting greedy, right? So I see a lot of players making this mistake in this ancient bracket, just getting greedy for no reason when they're having a great game. If you look at the net worth, he was at almost at the top before this happened. So, uh, point, main point, main point to understand here is knowing your job
Radiant's bottom
in the
tower
game.
is under attack.
Knowing your job, you don't have to pick up bounties. You don't have to die for your supports.
Radiant's
You don't have to
bottom
give
tower has
vision
fallen.
to your team. You
Dire's
don't really
middle
have
tower
to
is under attack. Structures are fortified.
defend towers unless it's really necessary.
Radiant's
If you
bottom
understand, you
tower
have
is
to
under
play
attack.
greedy, somewhat greedy, and play like a secondary carry in the game if it is required, obviously.
Dire's
Every
top
game
tower
has its
is under
own
attack.
way to play. But like I said, understanding it is what will make you go ahead in MMR. Now, the fifth and the last thing that I want to talk about is using your team's resources as your own and getting an advantage. Now, what I mean by this, guys, is every time you get into a game of Dota, your team has 5 heroes, one that you're playing and 4 on your team, right? So every hero provides some kind of damage, some kind of stun, some kind of resource, to give it a better word, right? So let's say you have a line on your team. Okay, this is just an example. You have a line on your team. You don't really have to buy lockdown items, or you don't really have to emphasize on buying lockdown items. Why? Because line already gives you really good lockdown. So the way you want to play around the line is you want to tell this line, hey, can you stun this guy in team fights? Hey, can you do this? And obviously, if he's not responding or if he's not playing good, maybe then you can buy lockdown items yourself. But you always want to try and use your team's resources as much as possible. This works really good with heroes like Slardar as well. Asking your Slardar to help you at Roche, because Slardar is really good with hitting Roche. TA is really good at hitting Roche. Storm is really good at catching heroes, right? So you want to ask your team constantly about these moves, and if they don't respond, if they're being toxic or whatever, maybe then you can go for a different route. But you can't really give up until you've tried, right? So you want to try. And I've noticed that a lot of players don't really use these resources in this bracket. They just play their own game and try to win the game on their own, when they can actually get help from their team if they have a good team, and snowball out of control even harder. I've personally watched Abid do this a lot when I was playing with him in Southeast Asia pubs. He would constantly tell the team what to do. Abid and Armil, these two players, they would constantly be like, hey, secure rune for me. Hey, do this. Hey, do that. Hey, go here. Hey, can you give me vision? Hey, can you go in first? He would constantly say stuff in the mic, and he would tell what he wants in the game. RTZ does this really nicely as well. Well, sometimes RTZ starts to get a bit baby rage moment as well as he does it. You want to practice it, how you can command your team or lead your team into doing what you want. And if you get better at it, I assure you 100% that you will increase more MMR and you will have a much higher win rate, guys. So these were the 5 things that I made a pointer out as I watched these ancient replays. I'll just go through them real quick. One, having a clear idea of what you're about to pick and what counters you. Two, stacking for yourself or asking for stacks from your teammates, which is mainly support. Play on your own timings instead of playing reactionary. Fourth is having a clear understanding of your job slash role in the game and not doing things on autopilot. The fifth is using your team's resources as your own and getting an advantage. Okay, so these are the five things that you want to work on, and if you do, I assure you that you will have a higher success in your pubs. If not success, you will notice that you're playing way better, and things are looking much better in terms of climbing ranks. So that's it for this video, guys. I hope you learned. I hope you enjoyed at the same time. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video, which is gonna be from Divine to Immortal. So stay tuned for that. Good luck grinding, guys. Bye bye. Shizzy signing out.